Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Em and this is going to be my ketchup and pickles vlog. If this is the first time you've caught this video, I always struggle to do this succinctly, but Ketchup and Pickles is an elementary school teaching thing where you basically divide up your tasks into two columns. You have your catch-up column, which is the things that you are behind and you need to catch up on, and your pickles column, which is the things you want to do for fun. For the purposes of this video, the catch-up books are the books that I was supposed to read in the month we are leaving, but haven't gotten to yet, and the pickles books are supposed to be like the mood read books that I want to read. However, for the last like 3 or 4 months, I am always behind on my TBR books, and so it's just kind of been catch-up books. For this video, we are also going to be catching up on Clearursht prompts because I lost my mind and did a Goodreads Choice Awards video, and that sucked up like 10 days of my life and I got behind. So now we have to catch up on my TBR books and on Ketchup and Pickles. So yay me, basically. So I am currently in the middle of 2 books. I'm reading Middlegame by Sean McGuire. This is actually for Clearursht. Clearursht always does a buddy read each year, and this year it's Middlegame, which I've never reread, and so I've been kind of quietly reading it in the background for the last like 2 weeks, and the audiobook is due back in like 3 days, and I would really love to finish this before the audio is due back because Amber Benson does the audiobook and I am really enjoying it. So this is a high priority. I've also been very slowly reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which, if you know, has been on my TBR for like 3 months, and my hold at the library finally came in, so I'm about 54% through this one. I'm reading it on my Kobo, but I also just got the audiobook in from the library, so I will probably bounce back and forth, and I'm liking this okay. Just okay. I think I've mentioned before, I'm not really a thriller reader. That's like the one genre that I don't really gravitate towards, and I believe this is considered a YA thriller. I mean, I know it's YA, but I believe it's considered a thriller rather than a mystery, and it's fine. It's this girl who, for her capstone project for high school, is trying to prove that the boy accused of murdering this other girl in her town 5 years earlier didn't actually do it. So yeah, there's like some transcripts, there's like mixed media, and I would say it's fine. I'm not super hooked in it, and I'm just kind of reading it like that I don't have anything else to do. So, you know, maybe not the best of circumstances, but I'm not giving up. I'm gonna keep going. And then I guess maybe I should finish those before we dive in. Okay, the new prompts for this next week came out today, and I am 1 behind, thankfully. Thank you, short books. I'm only 1 behind. I was able to do book with a long title I think like 2 weeks ago, just because I had a random one that I pulled down, and book outside of your normal genre picks. I can't count A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because that's from the library, and the whole point of Clearursht. Oh, if you don't know, the whole point of Clearursht is to read down your physical TBR, and it is a like narrative readathon where there is a story arc going on, and then there are prompts to go with each little story segment. I will link the creator down below if you're interested in checking it out. This is my 2nd year doing it, and I have a lot of fun with it. It's not controlling my reading as much as it was last year, but it's definitely in the forefront of my mind as I'm picking up books. So, book outside of your normal genre picks. This one was hard because I do tend to read everything. I ended up reading a manga because I've kind of fallen off the manga train recently. And I had a manga that had been on my TBR for a while that I'd actually pre-ordered, and so it was good to get that read and get that out of the way. And then for this week, I had started Middlegame early, so Middlegame is the first prompt for this week to read this. And then we also have a book that you almost didn't get but decided to get anyway, and I think I might read American Rapture for that one if I'm not like horrored out from reading so many of the Goodreads Choice Awards books for horror. So that is, but I also might look, because American Rapture was my Aardvark Book Club book box for this month, for November, but that was I didn't love the selection for this month, and I don't know that I'm really gonna like American Rapture. I don't know if CJ Lead is an author I'm going to like vibe with, but just out of like my choices, it was the one I was kind of sort of interested in. I could go through my shelf and see if there's anything else for that prompt, which I probably will, just in case. And then the last prompt for this next week is a book that has a monarchy of some kind. That one will be hard. Maybe I should finish. I'll probably go through the books that I softy enough this year and see if one of them has a monarch. I think 2 of them do, maybe 3. So maybe we'll finish one of those, which would be great because I talked about those on my end of the year book tag about how I wanted to finish all the books that I had softy enough this year. So yeah, that's the plan. That's what we're gonna do. I don't know how much reading time there will be today. We are going to decorate for Christmas and pull out our Christmas tree. And then my sister and I are taking the twins to see Wicked this afternoon in like 2 hours. And I didn't realize Wicked is almost 3 hours long. So I don't know how much reading time there will actually be today, but it'll still be like a really good day. And honestly, I'm still a little burnt out from the previous vlog, so like it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then I still have 2 more days off for Thanksgiving weekend before I have to go back to work. So do not worry. Reading time will be had. Morning, friends. It's been a day. I didn't update you yesterday, but there was some B-roll. We went over to my mom's house and decorated Christmas cookies, and that was lovely. And I feel like I'm coming down with a cold this morning, which is not lovely, but alas, it is just how it is. So I'm gonna try to like hydrate a lot today and not get fully sick. Cross your fingers for me. But let's do a reading update. Oh, it's all the way over there. I'm gonna just put up the picture. Editing Emily can just be upset with me. I finished Middlegame. It is still 5 stars. I don't know how to describe this book to you though. This is about alchemy, and I'll be honest, I feel like I've read a number of books that feature alchemy, and I don't know that I will ever understand what alchemy is or what it does or what the point is. But this is about twins named Roger and Dodger who are alchemical creations and are supposed to be the physical embodiments of this doctrine. And so you start when they are first created, and they are split off and sent and adopted out to opposite sides of the country. And Dodger's adoption is an actual adoption where her parents don't know like that she's an alchemical creation. They think they are just getting a baby. And then Roger's parents are part of the alchemical, this organization, and are raising him to purposefully activate this doctrine. And it's great. It's so well done. I love Roger and Dodger's personalities. I love their relationship with each other. There are other books in this series, and I haven't read the 3rd one yet, but I read book 2, and it follows different people. And I found they just aren't as compelling as Roger and Dodger are. So if you don't mind being a little bit confused and trusting that the author will like clue you in when necessary, I would 100% recommend this book. I like it so much. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend the audiobook. I know I talked about it briefly and said I was liking it, and I did like it for the most part. Amber Benson makes some interesting character voice choices for 3 of the characters. Not Roger and Dodger. I think her voices for Roger and Dodger are just fine, but there's 3 other characters where it was just a very interesting actor choice, and I don't know that I liked it. I think it ended up making those scenes feel really hokey and melodramatic rather than as serious and like life-threatening as they actually were. So just take that as you will. I also decided to DNF A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I just don't care. Sadly. I just don't care about what's happening to anybody. So I'm just going to DNF it. I'm like over 50% of the way through. If I'm not hooked now, I don't think I'm going to get hooked. And then I did move on and I picked 2 books. I did have a really hard time settling on what I wanted to read last night. I like read a few pages of a bunch of stuff trying to figure out what I was in the mood for. So I do have the physical copy, but I think this is primarily going to be my audio book, and I put a cover on it, but this is Incendiary, which you saw in the B-roll. Which is a YA fantasy book. It's on my TBR for December. No, it was on my TBR for November. I pulled it from my TBR jar. It is also like one of my TBR veterans. I've had this book since 2020. It's a part of a duology. I have both books, and I've never read them. So an audiobook narrator who I really enjoy does the audiobook, and I already had the audiobook on my Libro FM account. So I think this will primarily be my audiobook, but this is going to fulfill the prompt for book that has a monarchy, is I believe how it's worded, but let me double check. I'm not going in order for these prompts. I'm just making them fit. So this is, yeah, a book that has a monarchy of some kind, and there is a kingdom in here, and this is a kingdom that is in conflict. The king is pretty corrupt and is setting about trying to eradicate all the magic users in this kingdom, and we're following Ren, who I'm still trying to get a grasp on the magic system, but I think she can pull people's memories from them, but she can't put them back once she's pulled them, and if she pulls too much, she can turn the person into just like a shell with nothing inside. It's just like they're still alive, but there's nothing there. And I think this is going to be a burn it all down revolution type of book. And then for the other prompt that I'm doing is a book that is set in the future or an obscure time. And I ultimately decided to pick up something that I did soft DNF earlier this year, which is great because I would really like to finish those soft DNF books before the end of the year, and it's December 1st today, so that timeline is really, what's the word I want? Clicking down? I don't know what I'm looking for. Anyways, I picked up this one specifically to finish because my husband and I are rewatching season 1 of Arcane so that we can finally watch season 2, and we're like been real slow with our rewatch. So season 2's been out for I think a couple weeks now, and we're just barely halfway through season 1. But I kind of wanted a book with Arcane vibes because I love that show so much, and I love the world building, and I love the character dynamics and the character relationships. It's just so good. So I wanted something that was kind of gonna give me Arcane vibes, and I think this one will be like perfect for that. But it's Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This is an Antony and Cleopatra retelling, and we're set in this kingdom, don't really know when, and we're following an exiled princess, Kala, and there's this competition every year, and the winner, and it's like kind of like everyone's gonna die, and the one person that's left alive gets untold riches and gets to meet the king and blah 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 blah. And Kala, the king, is also very corrupt in this world, and Kala wants to bring down the monarchy, and so she enters herself in this competition so that she can win. And then when she is presented to the king, but in this world people can jump in between bodies, so that's really interesting. So I did restart this. I got about 45 pages, so I'm past where I was when I DNF'd it, and I'm really liking it. Okay, I've been talking for kind of a long time. My children are getting impatient, so I'm gonna go and do some reading, and I'll update you in a bit. Bye. Good morning, friends. It's very early on Monday morning, and I have an update for you because I'm just about 150 pages into Immortal Longings, and I love when my belief of you pick up the right book at the right time is reinforced, because I soft DNF'd this when September, August, July, not too terribly long ago, and not because I didn't like the writing or it wasn't interesting, but because there were just so many other shiny things at the time and so many books that required less focus that I didn't have the patience to sit through and let myself absorb a new fantasy world. But it also helped yesterday that I didn't feel very well, and so I was definitely more inclined to just lay down on the couch and read versus trying to get things done. I also think it helped last time, if I remember correctly, I think I was trying to listen to the audio, and I really need to remember that when I'm starting a new fantasy book, I have to read it physically and give myself time to get into the world and understand what's happening. And it's harder for me to track if I'm only using the audiobook, mostly because you know how fantasy always has different names for things, and I need time to adjust to whatever the language of that fantasy world is. And audio, I think, sometimes goes too fast, even when I slow it down, it just goes too fast and I don't have time to absorb. I also need to see how words are spelled, so that's there too. But I love Chloe Gong's writing so much. I find this world so interesting because we have the palace elites where as long as their worlds are comfortable, they don't care what's going on with the people of this kingdom, and the people of this kingdom are really suffering, and there's a lot of poverty, and people go hungry, and everyone is one disaster away from being on the street, which feels eerily similar, unsurprisingly. But I love the idea of this type of battle. I love how the rules Chloe Gong's established for the body jumping, and this thing that could be super chaotic. She's obviously thought out the rules for it and the consequences, and yeah. So Kala and Anton both have very good reasons for wanting to be in this competition. I think I mentioned what Kala is, and the thing I forgot to say earlier is that Kala is an exiled princess because her parents used to be the rulers, but were also very corrupt, and so she assassinated them and then went on the run, and her uncle is the one who ascended the throne. So her uncle is the one that she's wanting to assassinate, I guess. And then Anton has entered because his best friend has been in a jumping induced coma. There's this certain type of sickness that you can get if you try to jump into a body but are pushed back into your own body too many times. And Anton's best friend has that sickness, and she's been in a coma, and the hospital bills are astronomical, just absolutely horrendous. And so he wants the money so that he can pay for her care. And I just got to the point where, I don't think it's a spoiler, Anton figures out who Kala is in the competition and proposes that they form an alliance during the competition until it gets to the point where they're the only two left, and then the alliance will be over and they'll battle it out. Kala hasn't agreed yet, but she's thinking about it. So far, yeah, I would recommend this because I'm really liking it. I think it's got I think the battles are fun. The fights, it's very bloody. Obviously, but the battles are written really well, and there's also a lot of political stuff going on. So yeah, I'm having a good time with it, and it's kind of nice to just have a book that I sit down and read with my eyeballs. I haven't been doing that a lot lately. I've been relying on audiobooks a ton, but that definitely hasn't been my preferred way to read in the last few weeks, but I've been struggling to find the time to just sit and physically read a book. So definitely enjoyed that. I might see if I can get the audiobook. I know, but I had most of last week off, and now I have to go. I'm going back to work today because Thanksgiving break is over, and so my sit down and physically reading time is not going to be what it was the last 5 days. So now that I'm in it, I might try the audio again and see if I like it better now that I know all the words and know who everyone is and understand this world. But we'll see. Meanwhile, I'm going to read a little bit more before I have to start waking everybody up for school. And yeah, today's my busy work day. I teach 4 classes, so I'm basically at work the whole time the kids are at school. So again, not Mondays are not a good reading day for me. There's not very much reading time, but hopefully I'll be able to make some progress on something and give you an update later.
Okay, y'all, I think this might be one of the worst vlogs I've ever made. Also, so sorry for the state of my voice. I feel fine. I feel not great, but I feel fine. I sound horrendous. So there's that. I pretty much lost my voice yesterday. Believe it or not, this is an upgrade from where I was last night, but I'm about to go teach 2 classes. So I think I'm definitely going to call out for my afternoon class because I don't think I'll be able to teach that one by myself. If this is like my max volume, we'll see. One of my classes, it's really little kids. And so when we're stretching, we sing the ABC song. And I did a practice round in the car after I dropped the youngest off at school this morning. It was bad. It's bad. So anyways, wish me luck. I love being a teacher until it makes me lose my voice, and then it's horrible having a job where you have to talk so much. Anyways, but because I've been trying to like rest and recuperate, even though I never really got sick, so I don't know what's going on. But anyways, I finished Immortal Longings last night and I'm giving it a 4.5. I really liked this so much. And I looked up the UK cover for the sequel. I love it. So I'll have to order the UK copy so it'll match and so I can read the next book. But I thought this was so, like, if you want like a truly like enemies to lovers, like Kala and Anton have it out for each other. Even once they like start having feelings, they have it out for each other like the whole time. Because they're rivals in this competition and there's a lot of political stuff going on. The body jumping is so interesting and so well thought out, and there are a couple reveals about that ability that I thought were really interesting, and I'm really excited to see what Chloe Gong does with those in the next book. And I just love how she writes. And yeah, I'm so glad I picked this back up after softy and effing it earlier this year. That gives me like a lot of hope for the other books that I softy and effed that I want to try and circle back around to this month. So yay. And then I am, how far? I'm 160 pages in Incendiary. I'm not loving it. Here's the thing. We started out this book and Ren, our main character, also, why is Ren like the most popular fantasy girl name? Like, why is that one it? But aside from that, when we meet Ren, she's part of this like rebel resistance group, and she is already kind of in a relationship with this guy named Dez. And my spidey sense the whole time was like, I'm not going to get attached because I've never read a YA fantasy with a romance where the main character is already in the romance at the beginning of the book. Something's going to happen with this dude. I feel like this was really slow to get going. Like at 160 pages, I feel like the plot just started and everything up to this was just set up and context. I don't know why I'm holding this up like you're looking at the cover. I'll put it here. Yeah, it was just like setup and context for why Ren is going to make the decisions that she's going to make and do the things she's going to do. I'm just not loving it. I also have not had very much audiobook time. And because I was just physically reading Immortal Longings, anytime I had to sit down and read with my eyeballs, like this is what I wanted to read. I found this like way more compelling than Incendiary. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with it today. I'll try to focus on it a little bit more. this afternoon because I'm pretty sure I'm going to call out of my afternoon class just based on the state of my voice right now. I don't have high hopes for what it's going to sound like after my 2 morning classes. And then the other prompt that I needed to do is a book that you almost didn't get. And I kind of don't know what to read. I did start Molly Malloy and the Angel of Death by Maria Vale last night, which I have on my Kobo. The problem with this prompt is that I don't do this really when I buy my books. Like, I feel like if I impulse buy a book, it's because I've read from the author before, or, it's the next book in a series, and I'm usually, like, I know myself usually well enough. I'm not really in a horror mood right now because I think I'd mentioned that CJ Lead book would fit that prompt. So I'll probably give Molly Malloy a little bit more of a chance. This is, I think, a novella. Maria Vale is a romance author, but I don't think this is technically a romance because one of the people that is falling in love in this book is death, and a human and death can't really have an HEA. So in that regard, it doesn't really notch into romance genre. But I picked this up because a romance podcaster whose taste I really trust, she was talking about this in her stories. So here I am. And I kind of let things languish on my Kobos, and I need to be better about that. So I think this one will be what I put in for that prompt. And then we'll just see from there. I'm probably going to wrap this vlog pretty soon. So we'll see how much I can get finished / if my voice comes back anytime soon. But anyways, okay, that's 7 minutes. That's enough talking. So I'll update you all later. A little bit later. I think my voice is worse. I don't know. I didn't go teach this afternoon, but I'd be interested to hear what this sounds like when I upload it. Oh, this is bad. Okay, we'll do this real quick. I was being silly, and I'm gonna read American Rapture after all, since this is a book that I was not super excited to get, but this was from Aardvark Book Club, and it was for November. And November for Aardvark Book Club was the first month where there wasn't anything that I was super excited about, and I actually ended up skipping December because maybe there were books that I would like, but there was nothing that I felt like I needed to have on my shelf, so I just skipped it. And November, it was pretty close as well, but I am interested in reading from this author. I've discovered this year that I really like horror that explores religious trauma. And so I got this. So this does technically fit that prompt. And like I said, I think I said this at the beginning of the vlog that I was going to pick this for that prompt because it fit. And I think I didn't want to pick it because it is kind of long and oh, it's not even 400 pages. Why does it look so chunky? They kind of feel silly. Anyways, so yeah, I just felt like I was being silly. So I did decide to read it, and I picked it up, and I read 66 pages, and now I need to stop to go make dinner. But this is about Sophie, or our main character is Sophie, and she's 17, and she is in this super religious family, like super capital R religious. They're Catholic, and she's not allowed to do anything. She goes to an all-girls Catholic school. Her parents are super controlling. Just think of like the most restrictive, conservative Catholic situation. And that's what Sophie is growing up in. Her twin brother, Noah, hasn't lived with their family for 5 years. Is this in the bio? No. Anyways, okay. So there's this her brother hasn't lived there for 5 years. And we just found out why he was sent away. But she's really lonely and really isolated and really, really angry at her parents, as she should be. And there's this virus working its way through the US that is kind of like a flu. It sounds kind of like COVID, but it's different. I'm really liking it so far. I'm really liking the writing style. And there's something specific. So there's this boy that Sophie has had a couple interactions with, and he's real cute, and she totally doesn't know what to do with it or about it, and is really uncomfortable, but also like attracted to him, but not able to recognize that what she's feeling is attraction. And there was a scene at the library where she always sneaks out a book because she's not allowed to read secular fiction. Like the only thing she's allowed to bring home is how-to books that her parents approve of. But she has a agreement with the librarian where she can like sneak out a forbidden book and reads that when nobody is around to see her. And the boy gives her a book to check out, and she doesn't look at it until she gets home. Y'all, he gives her The Valley of Horses by Jean M. Auel, which, that is a flex. That is a flex. And he's like, it's book 2, but that's okay because book 1 is kind of a downer. Oh yeah, Clan of the Cave Bear is a major downer, but like, a 17-year-old boy giving a girl Valley of the Horses, I can't. I read that when I was 13, not realizing what it was because I had parents who, I mean this unironically, bless them, did not restrict or police or monitor my reading. So I read some stuff that I probably shouldn't have read at the age I read it, but yeah, it's fine. It all worked out fine. But, I learned some things. The reading The Valley of the Horses is all I will say. Okay, this is too much talking. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna go make dinner. Maybe read some more, but I just was gagged when she said I gave her Valley of the Horses. Oh, okay, we're gonna do a proper update tomorrow, and I'll close out this vlog tomorrow. Hopefully this situation will be so much better. But like, I finished this, and I'm not going to give you my review because that's too much talking, but my silent review is... Okay, you look forward to all that tomorrow. All right, hi friends. It's Sunday. My voice is better, so we're gonna talk about the books I finished this weekend and also close out this vlog because thanks to my voice it's gone on a little bit longer than I meant it to, but that also meant I actually got to finish books instead of ending this vlog with them not wrapped up. I gave you my little like goofy silent review yesterday, but I did finish American Rapture by C.J. Lead. Whoa boy, I went on such a journey with this book. So this is very much like a coming of age story. We're following, God, I forgot her name already. Don't take that as any kind of like commentary on me not loving this book as much as I loved this book. We're following Sophie, who is 16. Don't let that fool you that this is YA. I know sometimes we get confused that because the main character is a teenager or a young adult, that means it's a young adult book. No. Don't let it confuse you. There is a virus, a pandemic going through, well, it's going through just the United States, so I guess it's technically an epidemic, and it sounds a lot like our own pandemic where it presents with flu-like symptoms, and there's 2 versions of this virus in this world, in this book. There is the more like, is it SARS-CoV or NARS-CoV? I can't remember now. You get a flu-like symptoms, you get really sick, and then you get better.
And that's the like regular version. And then there's this other version that they called Sylvia. And with that one, it presents the same where you get flu like symptoms, you get really sick, and then you get better. But if you have Sylvia, a couple of days later, you get really sick again. And when you get really sick again, these people become rabid, feral, lust crazed creatures. And this is that Sylvia is spread through fluids, and the people that are infected with Sylvia have a rampant compulsion to get their fluids into other people and to take other people's fluids from them in any way that you can exchange fluids with another person. So I won't go into more detail than that. So this book, there is a lot of assault in this book. There is a lot of murder. There is a lot of really grotesque imagery. So like, just buckle up, Buttercup, if you go into this book, because it's a lot at first. And I was really put off, like not put off, but it made me really uncomfortable, which I think like obviously is the point. Like that's what C.J. Lead is going for. So Sophie, like I mentioned earlier, has been raised Catholic in a very conservative, very restrictive household. She doesn't know a whole lot about the outside world. She's been homeschooled for a lot of her life. Her twin brother has been forcibly removed from their home and lives in a facility somewhere else. And so a lot of this book is a road trip also of Sophie trying to get to her brother, who is 2 hours, 3 hours away from where her parents' house is. And there's a really great found family aspect to this, of the people that she meets along the way and the group that she forms. Okay, so I'm giving it a 4.5 stars. And I know I said I loved it. The reason it's not a full 5 stars is that there's a section in the middle where they're at a vaccine center that dragged a little bit for me, where I got bored. And I just think we spent a little too long at that vaccine center. That part felt a little bit stagnant because we had all this forward momentum in the plot, and then all of a sudden it just kind of stopped. And we're just in this space, and Sophie has so much guilt and shame in discovering who she is and these feelings that she's having, and the way her body has changed, and all this stuff that's really normal for a 16-year-old girl to go through. But because of the way she was raised and the things she was taught, like she carries so much guilt and shame. And that's a big theme of the book. And when we were when we were on the road trip part, there was forward momentum. And so the guilt didn't feel as heavy. But when we're at that vaccine center, it's like all there is to go through is Sophie's guilt and Sophie's shame. It's all valid based on her character. Like it all feels true to Sophie. But as a reader, it starts to feel really repetitive and it started to feel stagnant. But then we left the vaccine center and got back into the road trip. And the ending of this book was like 5 stars. Like 5 star, 5 stars, 5 star. This book broke my heart. I cried so much at the end of this book. I have never cried while reading a horror novel. Never, ever. And I can't even remember the last time I really cried reading a book, but this book broke my heart into 5 million pieces. We're going to go through spoilers real quick, so if you don't want to hear any, you're going to skip ahead until you don't see the spoiler bar right here, till you don't see this anymore, then you can listen if you want 0 spoilers. Y'all, there's a character in here named Cleo who's one of the best characters I ever met. Everybody you care about pretty much is going to die in this book, and it is going to rip your heart out. Also, I'm so sorry. I need you to know this. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you don't care about spoilers. But y'all, the dog dies. The dog dies. And I might start crying again if I talk about it too much. It broke my heart. It was the saddest thing I've ever read. And I know animal death does not bother me 95% of the time. It's like, it makes me sad, but it doesn't make me any sadder than watching a human die in a book. Like, I just I absorb it. I move on. This was like losing my best friend. It was so fucking sad. So just like, know that going in. Okay, we're done talking about that spoiler part now. I do think ultimately, even though so many sad things happened in this book, I think ultimately it does have a fairly hopeful ending. It doesn't wrap anything up, like it's super ambiguous, but I loved this so much. And it makes me really excited to go back and read Mayfly, even though I hate the cover. But I'm so glad I picked this up and I got over my like silly moment where I wasn't going to read it because I just adored it. Okay, and then I also finished Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova, and I'm going to give it a 4. I feel like this book took a real long time to get going. And oddly enough, Ren in this book also has a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. Weird to read two books with like that theme of like guilt about your basic existence because of the way the adults have raised you. Like, this is an odd coincidence, I think. But I feel like this book took a long time to get going. And I feel like Ren really has to work through her shame and her guilt. And I felt like for a lot of this time, a lot of this book, Ren is just feeling, I don't want to like undermine and belittle how she felt in this book, but it did feel at times a little bit like she was feeling sorry for herself, where I just kind of wanted to be like, girl, like, just, it is what it is. Get up, get over it. Like, do something. Don't just sit there and like wallow in this pool of self-pity, which is what it felt like for a good chunk. But I would say, I don't know, maybe at the 75% mark, Ren finally gets a fire lit under her. And from then on, I was totally hooked. I love the ending. I love the reveal. I did see one of the reveals coming, but I think you're supposed to. I think you're supposed to know before Ren does. And so that was fine. I mean, I was kind of yelling at her to figure it out, but that's okay. I really liked how it ended. I found myself really sucked into it. And like throughout, even though it took, 75%, it was still a good story. Like, the plot was interesting, the world building was fascinating. How much more detail do I need to give you about the plot? So she's in this rebel group, and that boy that I was talking about, that was the love interest, he gets captured by the palace, and she ends up kind of running away from the rebel group to go back to the palace because she lived there as a child and then ran away to join this rebel group. And so she goes back to try to like infiltrate back in so that she can figure out a way to save the magical people in this land and get information to the rebel group that will help them protect other magic users. So that's basically the plot. So she's in there kind of as a spy. So she's pretending like she is still loyal to this kingdom while trying to unravel like the corruption within. And I love the ending. I downloaded the audiobook for book 2 already, and I'm really hoping to read it this month because it's just a duology and I really want to know how it ends. Also, she does not fall in love with this other character that we meet, that there's a reveal for. I'm going to be so mad. She cannot stay in love with boy number 1. I need her to switch over to boy number 2 because he already has my heart. Zoraida Cordova tried to trick me, but I didn't fall for it. He has my whole heart, and I really hope that's the direction the romance goes in, because that will be so fun. Even though it kind of took me a little while to get into it, I did end up really enjoying this one, and I'm hoping the next one will get an even higher rating because now Ren has a lot of like end of this book. She had a lot of forward momentum for what she was going to do next. So with that, we are at the end of this Ketchup and Pickles vlog. I did finish all my 3 prompts. Of course, now it is Sunday, and I haven't read any of the prompts for this week, so I'm behind by 3. That's okay. We'll get there. It's fine. But this vlog did not go the way I intended it to go. Losing my voice really threw a wrench in the works. So if you stuck through this video all the way to the end, even with this nonsense going on, thank you so much for staying with me and for spending your precious time with me. I really appreciate it. I would love to hear your thoughts about these 3 books, what you thought, if you read any of them, if you're interested in reading any of them now that I've chatted about them for a while. And if you would like to leave an emoji to let me know you were here, let's leave. Oh, I can't say that because that's a spoiler. I just noticed there's a sword on here. Can you see that? I don't know. It's like a reflection in the spine. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I didn't realize that there was a sword like right in there. Oh, okay, sorry. I'll stop obsessing over the design for this book. This was actually, I mean, and a 5-star, a 4-star, and a 4.5. That's really, really good. Okay, if you want to leave an emoji to let me know you were here, I guess let's do like a sword emoji or a knife emoji or a dagger, something stabby. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!